Week 3 of the fantasy baseball season. Here's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for this week. The first hitter, Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres. So Tatis Jr., he's off to a very slow start. We know he's an early pick, late first, second round for fantasy owners in the drafts going into the season. And so far, he still hasn't hit a homer on the year's Tatis Jr. in the first 41 at-bats. No homers, 3 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 189 average, and a 295 on base percentage. So obviously he's off to a very slow start. His Padre team, they're middle of the pack team to me going into the season. But Tatis, we know at the end of the year the numbers are going to be there for him. We know injuries have been a problem for him, but he's going to hit anywhere from 20 to 30 home runs, and he's going to steal anywhere from 25, 30 stolen bases if healthy as Fernando Tatis. So I've said it a lot in these videos that hitters the first couple months of the season are behind the pitches, and then when the weather warms up and you're more in the routine and playing daily, that's when these hitters really get going. April 4th at Boston, 1 for 5 a run. April 5th at Boston, 1 for 3 a run and RBI. April 6th at the Pirates, 0 for 4 with a run. And April 7th at the Pirates, 1 for 4. So like I said, Tatis, he's struggling right now. Even at a golden sombrero in that April 4th game at the Red Sox where he's overswinging. And this is a good lineup where he's going to get a lot of pitches to hit. And I know he's batting first or second most nights for the San Diego Padre team. But I just think Fernando Tatis, he's too good of a player. And right now, he's struggling. And you obviously could get him on a little bit of a discount before he breaks out and get things going. He's definitely a buy low hitter this week. The next hitter, Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. Another guy who was a first-round pick in fantasy drafts this season. And Jose Ramirez, he's struggling mightily on the year where he's hitting 6 for 45 on the season. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 2 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. So a batting average under 140 and an on-base percentage under 230 to start the season. Very bad year, no doubt about it, in the early going. But we know Jose Ramirez every season, he's good for 30 to 90, 30 and 100. And last season he was in the 30-40 club is Jose Ramirez. I know there was questions coming into the year. Maybe he's in the latter part of his career. He's going to start declining. But he just signed a contract extension with this Guardian team. And he's too good of a hitter to stay down for this season. So right now, he's struggling mightily, no doubt about it, is Jose Ramirez. He's definitely a buy low candidate. And he's definitely a discount player as well, where I know he was drafted in the first round. And I know it's only a few weeks, but his numbers are way down there. April 3rd versus the Cubs, 2 for 4. April 5th in a doubleheader versus the Cubs, 0 for 7. April 6th versus the Royals, 0 for 2. And April 7th versus the Royals, 0 for 4. So right now, he's struggling and he can't get things going, Jose Ramirez. Even though we know he's one of the better players in all baseball, he's definitely a buy low hitter this week. He's still going to have to give up decent capital in a deal for him, but obviously I don't think as high as a couple weeks ago where he was drafted as a top 7, top 8 pick. Worst case, next hitter, Geraldo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So he's struggling mightily as well, where he's 6 for 37 on the season, 3 runs scored, a homer, 3 RBIs, a stolen base. Another hitter hitting under 200 early in the season is Perdomo. Last season he had a great season, 20 and 100 with 27 stolen bases and 98 runs scored. So he's off to a slow start, and I know it was only one big year for him where there's not much on this track record, but like I said, this Arizona Diamondback team likes him a lot. Last season he had a big year. I know guys, pitches adjust, the league adjusts, and he has to make adjustments as well, is Perdomo. But I think he's a catalyst in this offense and someone that definitely can help fantasy owners and turn things around. With this Arizona Diamondback team as a whole, it's a struggle scoring runs this season. April 2nd versus the Braves, 1 for 1. April 3rd versus the Braves, 0 for 4. April 4th versus the Braves, 0 for 3. April 5th versus the Braves, 0 for 2 with an RBI. And April 7th versus the Mets in a tough loss, 0 for 4 with a run scored. So Perdomo, he's struggling for his last 13, but he showed last season he's a stud hitter. Yes, he could have been a one-season wonder, no doubt about it, is Perdomo, but right now I still would take a chance on him, especially while he's struggling mightily, and try to buy him low. This week, next hitter, Vinny Pasquinto of the Kansas City Royals. Pasquinto, he's struggling as well after coming off a monster season last season for this Kansas City Royal team and a former top prospect in the system, where he went 32 and 113 with a 264 average. But so far this season, struggling mightily, 8 for 41 on the year. no homers, 5 RBIs, 3 runs scored. But the great thing is, these guys, most of them, they're going to break out and get things going where the first few weeks of the season, the weather's colder. And obviously as well, the pitchers are ahead of the batters early on. April 4th versus Milwaukee in a doubleheader, 1 for 9 in that one. April 5th versus Milwaukee, 2 for 5, 2 RBIs. April 6th at the Guardians, 1 for 4 with a run. And April 7th at the Guardians, 0 for 3. So Pasquinto definitely struggling in the early going, but I still think he's going to turn things around. And like I said, it's only week 3 of the fantasy season. We're not even in mid-April yet, so these guys quickly by May or June really could get things going and get those numbers back up. But right now this is a perfect time for fantasy owners, even in the early going, to try to convince owners with some of these stud hitters that are struggling to make a deal for them and get them on a little bit of a discount. So like I said, Pasquinto had a monster year last season, 32 and 113. I don't think he's going to match those numbers exact this season, but we're 23, 28 home run range, and he could drive in 90 to 100 RBIs this season. So right now, while he's struggling, he's definitely a buy. This week in the final hit, I look to buy and trade for is Bo Bichette of the New York Mets. So Bo Bichette, we know last season he had a great year amongst the league leaders in batting average, 311 with 18 homers, 94 RBIs, but injuries did him in as well in the postseason. And so far, Bichette's off to a slow start. No homers, 6 RBIs, 4 runs scored on the season, and he's 10 for 50 to start the year off. So obviously, slow start for Bichette, but one of the best pure hitters in all Major League Baseball. And he's still taking the ball to right field. He's still getting good swings on, and I know the strikeout rate is up a little bit in the early going, 12 strikeouts and 50 at-bats, but the first week of the season, he really struggled with the strikeouts, and now he's obviously cut back on them a little bit, is Bo Bichette. So like I said, another thing hurting him as well, Juan Soto, he's out 2 to 3 weeks now with the calf strain, and that was a big bopper obviously ahead of him in the lineup where he's going to get a lot of good pitches to hit. And since Soto's been out, he's moved second in the order behind Francisco Lindor. April 3rd at San Francisco, 3 for 5, 2 runs and RBI. April 4th at San Francisco, 2 for 5, a run and a rib. April 5th at the Giants, 0 for 4, and April 7th versus the Diamondbacks, 1 for 5 in that game. But like I said, his strikeouts have gone down a little bit over the last few games. Here's Bo Bichette. He's still taking the ball to right field, trying to use the whole field. And like I said, he's too good of a pure hitter. And also as well, starting this season at third base, maybe he's more concentrated on that than hitting early in the season before he gets the feel for it at third base a little bit more. But I think Bichette's going to turn things around, and especially when Soto comes back. Obviously, another big bat ahead of him in the lineup. Qualifies at third and shortstop, which is great versatility and good for positions that are a little weaker in fantasy baseball. So that's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for week 3 of the fantasy baseball season.